Welcome to a special bonus video here on our YouTube channel. We have to talk about Klay Thompson's return. First of all, just the significance of him coming back from two major injuries, not playing basketball for 2.5 years, even prior to the game. My big takeaway was that Klay is universally loved. We all enjoy watching him compete, enjoy watching him play basketball, but the outpouring of support and excitement all over social media, it's very clear that he is a significant figure in the NBA world. I'm most impressed by 18 jacks in a little over 19 minutes. And I'll tell you why. Well, number one, certainly you could tell early on that the Warriors were intent on getting him involved and trying to find him off pin downs and screenaways. But I think there's as an athlete myself, former athlete myself, there's a tendency when you come back from an injury or if you haven't played in a game in a while to sort of ease into things, to get your sea legs, so to speak. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching Klay be Klay, which is just ultra aggression at all times. The snarl was probably the most, indicative meme or gif that we saw yesterday of his mindset. There was just pure aggression, pure competitiveness. You could tell for him, this was just a huge release of a bunch, and release though of a bunch of emotions and energy built up over the last 30 months. Look, I thought he moved well. There was a shot he made in the second half. He turned down a three and then went into his dribble package and kind of, he was going left because he likes to go left, but he threw the ball towards the baseline, gathered, little fadeaway, but because of his size, he can just shoot over smaller defenders, and he hit that. That was, of all the shots he made, the standstill threes, the transition threes, the dunk, of course, is important, but of the shots, not the dunk, but of the shots he made, that was the most impressive shot that he made to me, because that's ultimately in a playoff series against a great opponent, those are the shots he's going to have to make to sort of relieve some of this burden and playmaking burden that Draymond and Steph have for this team. I think most people understand his value as a two-way player. Perk and I got into this last week on First Take about the eye test and analytics. And there's value in both. There's always going to be value in both. And the really talented analysts, the really talented front office executives, the really talented coaches, they understand this and they can cipher through the eye test and the data. They can cipher through and pick out what is noise and what is real. And one of the things that's always been interesting about Klay is that defensively, he's never graded out particularly well, analytically speaking. But when you watch and he competes and he guards, it's clear that he's an elite two-way player. Some of that, of course, defensive RPM values steals, defensive rebounding, and deflections. That's one of the things that Robert Covington will always be great in defensive RPM because he has 13 deflections a game. But when you watch Klay, like he's never been an elite defensive rebounder. When you watch him guard and stay in front of his man and move his feet and contest every shot, and he's doing it against the best offensive players deep in the playoffs, it's clear that he's an elite two-way player, and that to me is the real value here. Besides the production offensively and the shooting, of course, he's incredible. The value is the best defensive team in the league just got better defensively. Scary is a hyperbolized word when we talk about sports. It's clickbait. There's not a single NBA player that is scared of the Warriors, but I think it can be an appropriate term in terms of the value that Klay is going to add. But one thing we should note on the Warriors, and I always like pointing this out about those early championship level teams in 2014, 2015, and then again the 73-9 team in 2015 and 2016, and then this version of the Warriors in 2021, 2022, the pieces just fit. And so what Bob Myers and Mike Dunleavy and Kirk Lacob, what they did this offseason is they brought in the right pieces to fit around Steph and Draymond and Klay. Guys like Otto Porter, guys like Gary Payton II, Obviously JTA last year proved that he can play in that system. Bjelica has been great. This is bringing back Iguodala, right? Poole's development. All the pieces fit. So it's not necessarily that you're looking at the Warriors and saying, oh my God, we're going to be overwhelmed by their talent. And certainly those three guys are Hall of Famers and incredibly talented. But what is scary about them is how good of a team they are and how well they play their system, both offensively and defensively. They execute it as good as anyone in the NBA, and then you factor in Steph and Klay shooting, Draymond's intelligence on both ends of the floor. They're an amazing team. That's the bottom line. And again, we've said this a couple times. The system is Steph. Everything sort of revolves around him. Klay understands his place and his role in that system. Draymond understands his place and role in that system. You go down the list of guys on that team, they understand their role and they play it at a high level. So they have a team full of guys who star in their roles. Again, not to hyperbolize, that's the scary part. A team that does that with the talent they have inherently because of Steph, Dre, and Klay, that's a scary team.